Weeks of cross-border bombings, Gaza's Islamist rulers, Hamas, have announced that they have reached an agreement with Israel. This deal has been mediated by Qatar. The Qatari envoy delivered the latest portion of $30 million aid in Gaza before holding talks with Israeli officials in Tel Aviv. For several weeks, Gaza, under the leadership of the Hamas, has launched hundreds of balloons laden with incendiary devices and explosives into southern Israel. Large tracts of farmland have been torched. Thousands of Israeli civilians have been living on the edge. Meanwhile, Israel responded with frequent airstrikes and tank fire on what it claimed was the Hamas military infrastructure in Gaza. Israel has also banned the Gaza fishermen from going to sea. It has closed its goods crossing with the territory, which has prompted the closure of the Palestinian territory's sole power plant for want of fuel. Israel and Hamas have fought 3 wars and several smaller battles since the year 2007. The restrictions have pushed Gaza's economy to the brink of collapse. More than half the population has been left unemployed. And as Israel and Hamas agree to ease hostilities, at least for now, it is important to understand what exactly is the Hamas-Palestinian movement. Hamas is the largest Palestinian militant Islamist group that has ruled the Gaza Strip for decades now. Some say it is a terrorist group. Others call it a gang of thugs that seized the Gaza Strip at gunpoint. Originally, Hamas had a dual purpose of carrying out an armed struggle against Israel and focusing on social welfare programs. Since 2005, it has also been engaged in the Palestinian political process, only to become the first Islamist group in the Arab world to win an election through the ballot box. Hamas assumed full control of Gaza in June 2007. While Hamas is sovereign in Gaza, Fatah, which is another dominant party, continues to rule the West Bank. Hamas defines itself as a Palestinian Islamic national liberation and resistance movement, using Islam as its frame of reference. Joining us for more on that is Dr. Moshir Amer, political analyst and professor of discourse analysis and linguistics at the Islamic University of Gaza. Thanks very much, Professor, for speaking with us. As Israel and Hamas agreed to ease hostilities, at least for now, how optimistic are you that this truce will hold?
Well, thank you very much for having me, and good day for everyone. This is a good development, actually, given the very dire conditions that the Gaza population has been going through, especially over the past 20, 23, 24 days, when Israel blocked the entry of fuel, of construction materials, and other much needed essentials and basic needs and goods, which exacerbated the already very difficult conditions that the 2 million people living in the Gaza Strip have been going through over the past 14 years when Israel imposed subsidies on the Gaza Strip. So it's good and give us a chance to read a little bit, but especially in
Right. Dr. Moshir, will just come back to you. A bit of an audio glitch there. As Dr. Moshir is just telling us, this is a welcome development, and at the same time, there is optimism that the truce will hold. Now, this deal has been mediated by Qatar, and the Qatari envoy delivered the latest portion of $30 million aid in Gaza before holding the talks with the Israeli officials in Tel Aviv. This announcement of the truce coming in after weeks of cross-border bombings. All right, going back across to Dr. Moshir, go ahead, sir, with the point that you were making.
I said that this is a good development, especially given the very difficult conditions that Palestinian Gazans inside Gaza have been going through. We, over the past 24 days, of the which had
Right, we're losing that line there with Dr. Moshe, but the point that he was making is that while this is a welcome development, Israel and Hamas have agreed to ease hostilities for now. It's also important to understand the negotiations that have led to this crucial point. After weeks of cross-border bombings, Gaza's Islamist rulers, Hamas, announcing that they have reached an agreement with Israel. We'll continue to track the latest coming in and the series of reactions that have been trickling in as well on that front.